Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
Zencastr. Okay, that is my favorite program to record the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. I absolutely love it. Studio quality sound. And in addition to audio, there's also a video option as well. So you can do your video podcasting or video conferencing. I encourage everybody, head over to zencastr.com. That's zencastr.com. Check it out for yourself. They even have a free version so you can test it out. You can see if it's something that you want to incorporate into whatever projects that you have coming up. But I'm telling you right now, as a podcaster, Zencastr is number one for me. That's right.
You're locked in.
Look at what we have here, folks.
To the only show that matters.
The cream of the crop.
Duke Loves Rasslin.
And there is no one that does it better than
Your host,
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
the Duke.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I've been on a streak of all these Hall of Famers and all these indie wrestlers and what have you, and those conversations are always fun. You know that. I live for those conversations, but I got to balance them out. I got to balance them out with just some general conversation where it almost feels like you audience members are eavesdropping on two people just shooting the breeze. And certainly there's one person on this planet who he shoots the breeze like no one I've ever spoken to before. Just always a pleasure to talk to this guy. We talk every day. That's how much I enjoy talking to this guy. Just a really good dude. So without further ado, welcome back to the Duke Loves Rasslin podcast. My brother, Danny G. What's going on there, Danny?
How you doing, Duke? Great to talk to you. Great to be back. After all those Hall of Famers, I'll tell you, I got a lot to live up to here. So, I hope I can bring it this time.
Well, listen, if my numbers dropped, I'm blaming you, all right? I don't know what
Absolutely.
the hell's going on.
I'll tell you right now, I would expect that. So, I would expect people are going to look at who's this schmuck he's got on here, and they're going to be like, God, screw it. We ain't listening to Duke this week. You're going to go from 1 to like 25 in a week.
Let me tell you something. I have never dropped when you're on this show. Danny G is a draw. Okay, I just want to make that clear to the whole world.
Unlike CM Punk, right? Ooh,
exactly. You're a needle mover, unlike that guy. Now listen. What's this I hear about this hot chick that you've been dating? And I still got to tell your wife about this. But this hot chick you've been seeing, I hear that she's into some kind of martial arts. What's going on here?
That hot chick is actually my wife of almost 5 years now. Been together almost 10. And yes, she is a black belt in Taekwondo. She doesn't practice it as much anymore, but it was something that she actually became a black belt right before we met. And one of the cool things is she actually sent me a picture while we were still kind of talking of her doing a roundhouse kick, breaking a board to get the black belt. So, I'm one of those guys that I have a wife that if I ever get out of line, she'll just kick the shit out of me, if you know what I mean.
I was going to say, so you're with a woman who can absolutely crush you at any moment.
Yep.
This is a thing that you're into, huh?
We'll say no. We'll say no for that.
We'll say no, yeah. Well, listen, I'll tell you right now. I know that she's a good woman because I saw the Flamingos go up to her and feel comfortable being around, and I said, okay, so that's a good spirit right there.
Yeah, that was an excellent trip. That was her a milestone birthday for her. And it was on her bucket list, so that's why we did it for her birthday, and it was worth it 100%. It was worth it just for that. The little videos right there was just fantastic. It was a well-deserved milestone birthday for my love.
I love it. That's good stuff. So listen, do you think I can hire her because I got a bunch of people who cancel me every other week, and I need some muscle. And, now that I know that your wife is basically Ronda Rousey 2.0 here, I think that's I think that I can start talking some more trash. What's that?
Let's ask her. Yeah, you can ask, and you can say Mrs. Danny G is going to come after you.
Exactly. That's it. That's it. I'm going to start making threats here. I'm going to start making threats because I know that if anyone comes after me, Mrs. Danny G will take care of the light work. So
I need her sometimes too after some of the heat I take on Twitter here and there. So it's good to know I have backup. It's good that way.
Listen, Danny, I take full responsibility for all the heat that you've been receiving lately. Guilty by association. You should have never come on this show. You know, your life was so simple before you started coming on this show. Now suddenly everybody wants to talk trash to you.
Complicated as hell now, Duke, but it's well worth it.
Exactly. You know, speaking of that, I've been catching some heat. Because, you know, people who don't know the history of Duke Loves Rasslin, they don't really listen to this show. They check in here and there and complain, but they don't really support it. They don't interact with it at all. They just like to bust my chops because they want to control everything that I do for some odd reason. I don't know why people want to control me. It's like, who am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've been catching some heat over this Vince McMahon investigation that the WWE board of directors is doing.
Yep.
And the investors, really, of World Wrestling Entertainment, which ironically I'm one of them. So I'm caught up in this, Danny, because I do own WWE stock.
Okay.
And full disclosure here. So, you know, there's a potential that I've been wronged as well. So, you know, but people want to bust my chops about, well, how come you're not saying anything about Vince McMahon? And how come you? It's like, hey, the guy's being investigated.
Yep.
And other executives are being investigated. And here's the thing. First and foremost, it's not a criminal investigation. Okay? The investors are investigating executives, including the chairman, Vince McMahon, to see if they've done something that's improper with funds and what have you. You know, and primarily, did you have relations with an employee and then give them a quid pro quo here where you gave them something in exchange for sexual favors? That's what's being investigated. Okay, so that's a violation of company policy. It's a publicly traded company, so you have a responsibility to your investors to not do things like that, mess around with the money that way. I mean, there's more disclosures that are supposed to be made public, especially to the investors, that if you got all these NDAs because you're paying people off for things you've done wrong, I mean, we need to know that so we can make sound decisions of whether or not we're going to continue to invest in your company. That's the way it goes, right? Those are the rules. But this isn't a criminal investigation. A lot of the humanoids, the pencil neck geeks, the skinny jeans wearing, malt beverage attitude folks, you know what I mean? They're not top shelf like Danny G or myself. A lot of these folks are trying to conflate issues and are saying that this is some kind of criminal mischief and, you know, this is a sexual assault investigation. It's like, no, it's not. First and foremost, we got to go by the information that's been made public to us. What we know that's been made public, or at least this is what's been stated here, is that it was a consensual relationship between someone, Vince McMahon, and someone else who was an employee, a paralegal. And that person was paid off over a period of time, in addition to having a sexual or some type of relationship with the chairman. That's what we know. That's what's been made public. Everything else that's been said is conjecture, and that's why there's an investigation. But even still, it's a company investigation. It's not a criminal matter. What the hell do I have to say about that? You know what I'm saying, Danny G? So here you are today. I'm bringing you on, a guy that I like to have conversations with. You and I are going to talk about this, and everybody can eavesdrop since they're on my backside so much. You're not saying anything about it. Okay, here you go, folks. I'm going to say plenty here. So, Danny G, in the United States of America, everyone's innocent until proven guilty, and this isn't even a criminal matter at this point. Does it make sense for me to sit here and tar and feather anybody when we don't even know what the facts are yet completely?
No, of course not. Here's my take on it. First and foremost, is he guilty? Of course he is. I mean, if anyone thinks Vincent Kennedy McMahon is a golden child, or if he's, you know, some goody two shoes, you're sadly mistaken. I've been of the theory in my entire life that people in business that become successful like he has, you don't get there by being nice. You don't get there by being a good guy all the time. You generally have to do some very bad things to get to that level. So you make a very good point where it's not a criminal investigation, because it's not. What he did was not illegal. If he did it, it's not illegal. Is it immoral? Absolutely. Has it probably been going on for years? Again, absolutely. I mean, you're naive if you don't think these things have been going on. But they never get investigated until one thing happens, when investors think that you're effing with their money. And then, so they think that Vince McMahon was effing with some of their money. So if there is non-disclosure agreements being paid out with WWE funds, then yes, there is a big problem with that. If it's Vincent Kennedy McMahon's personal checkbook paying off these people again, or this person again, is it immoral? Absolutely. Do I agree with it? No. Do I think it's horrible? Yes. But again, it ain't illegal. And he didn't do anything in that aspect where he deserves to, necessarily lose his job yet. I understand. I know he stepped aside, which was probably the right thing to do. I'm of the belief, Duke, that I actually think his past couple appearances on SmackDown and on Raw were I think he's kind of doing his farewell tour. I really do. I think Vince has always said we have to do what's best for business. And what may end up becoming best for business is he has to step aside and he has to go away. And that would include creative too. He would have to move away from all of that. And I think, honestly, that's what is eventually going to happen the next couple of months, is he is going to be stepping aside because he's going to be forced to. And the company is just going to have to move forward. Because if he truly wants what's best for business, the stock price is already down $7. He doesn't want it to go down much more than that. So I honestly think that this is the beginning of the last we're going to see of Vince McMahon, and he's going to these events and he's making appearances because he wants to soak it in. He wants to soak in the Mr. McMahon character. He wants to hear the crowd cheer for him, and then I think it's going to be over. I mean, he's 76. The torch has to be passed sooner rather than later, and with Stephanie being the head of the company right now, we all know Nick Khan is the true head of the company. But having Stephanie up front, it's a good thing for their image. She is very, very well respected, and she could do some very good things with the company, I think, and help move them forward, as well as they've been moving forward even recently, because Nick Khan, whether we agree with him or not, has done a wonderful job making money for that company.
I mean, that's solid take there, Danny G, and I disagree with you on a couple of points, but I understand where you're coming from, and you probably are going to be right, and I'm going to be wrong. The way that I see it, I don't think there's a chance in hell Vince McMahon is removed from that company. First of all, he would have to be found guilty of just the type of mischief that would cause, some type of nuclear meltdown, so to speak, within that company in order to get rid of a guy who owns 83% of the shares.
Yeah, basically using company money to pay people off
so here's the issue. I don't think that that's the case. Based on what we know,
I agree with you.
He wasn't using company money. He used his own personal money. But the problem is, at least in terms of the upfront payments that we could see, giving anyone a raise that is a significant. I mean, he doubled a person's salary. That does that make sense? Is that consistent with what they do, especially for a position like that, a paralegal? Most paralegals don't even come in to a job at $100K. And, this person went from 100 to 200 overnight, in less than a year, it sounded like. So that could be a big problem. Yeah. But I think the guy pays a fine and we go back to business as usual. I don't think that If the government couldn't take Vince McMahon down, I just don't see how this investigation is going to do it.
Now you're changing my mind, Duke, because I hadn't thought of it that way.
And that's the thing. It's not. I mean, come on. If the government's going after you, I mean, they usually hit more than they miss when they start focusing on somebody. But I will say this though. I'm very disappointed in anyone in that company who has utilized their position to take advantage of those that are in positions that are in lower rank than them. You shouldn't be doing that type of stuff. And the power dynamics are so massive, especially in a situation where we're talking about the chairman of the board, the CEO of the company. You only have two choices if you're being accosted by somebody like that. You're either going to quit or you're going to go along with it and hopefully get paid. That's it. There's no in between there. You know what I mean? Because who are you going to go to? You can go to HR, you can go, but he's the CEO of the company. And I don't care how great of an employee you are. Everybody can be performance managed out of their job. There's not a single
absolutely. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen.
The most perfect employee, you can find something wrong with what they're doing and find a way to write them up, put it in their file, put them on an action plan, get rid of them. And a lot of people are employees at will these days. And I'm sure that that's the case in the WWE, which means that you really don't need to give a reason for why you're getting rid of somebody.
I know.
So it's, there are ways from a corporate structure to remove anyone from a job. I think that it's rotten and it's disgraceful that these men, and as a man I'm saying this, that these men are taking advantage of their position the way that they have. And I'm waiting for the investigation to confirm, but I'm with you, Danny G. If you're asking me my opinion based on what I have seen and what I've heard and what have you, I'm of the frame of mind that Vince McMahon is not innocent of taking advantage of his position. I mean, we've seen him do it on television and on the shows where it's like, well, they're just acting. But it's like, buddy, you don't need to be kissing your employees. I mean, they're your employees. You're not even a fellow wrestler. They're your employees. Why are you kissing them? Why are you talking about their bodies? Why are you making sexual innuendo? Who wrote that crap? Why are you going along with it? It never made sense to me. It was always kind of uncomfortable, let's say.
Yeah.
And look, Duke Loves Rasslin. WWE has blackballed me a few times. People have come on this show, they've buried that company, and they've told their personal experiences. So it's not like we're talking rumors here. I've had people talk about racism, sexism, CTE issues, union busting. I even had Manny Fernandez talk about a time where he told Vince McMahon to go F himself. And WWE was completely BS at me over airing that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to say that now. And I'm sure somebody's going to get pissed off at me for saying that publicly, but it's okay. So a lot of people out there are confused, Danny G, when they say, well, you're always sticking up for the WWE and you just want to bury AEW and you never say anything. It's like, hey, you better check the record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? WWE's gotten completely buried on this show.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can still, bury someone, but also be supportive of the product at the same time. Well, you know what I mean? That. It's it is possible to be able to do more than one thing at once.
Imagine that.
I know, no, most people can't imagine that. There's no gray area with a lot of people in these days. I mean, look at it this way, okay? How many times has a professional athlete from a team that you root for, look at Deshaun Watson. Look at Deshaun Watson. How many, 24 sexual misconduct allegations, all civil suits, right? But the Cleveland Browns just gave him $270 million guaranteed, fully guaranteed. And has anybody given up their Cleveland Browns tickets? No, of course not. They're going to go to the games, and it's I'm not defending this in any way, shape, or form, but, it's okay to not like what Vince McMahon did or whatever, but you can still support the product because realistically, in this case, the employees, which are the wrestlers, don't have anything to do with it. Not one thing at all. You know what I mean? And technically, the last I checked, I don't really tune into professional wrestling to see Vince all that much. Yeah, it's nice when he has an appearance here and there. I think it's cool. you know. But I tune in to watch the men and the women kick each other's ass in the ring. That's what I watch, you know. So it's just it sucks because it's a high profile position and he deserves anything that comes his way because it's probably been going on for a long time and been swept under the rug and stuff like that. And those things happen in all sorts of companies all over the world, all over the country, even more so in other parts of the world. Sexual harassment is rampant in a lot of other parts of the world. We don't even understand how bad it is until you've maybe worked for a company that is, from Europe or is owned by Europe. You see different things. And it all is just it's an unfortunate situation, but I mean, I myself am not going to stop supporting WWE just because the CEO did some crappy things. I'm going to support the people that are out there that are giving their blood, sweat, and tears every week to give me a good product. That's who I support. Ultimately, I don't support Vincent McMahon. I support the people he employs, and that's who I cheer for.
Well, and this is the thing, and I always say that on this show. My issue is with The Office. It's not with the men and women, the boys and the girls, as they refer to themselves. My issue is always with The Office, regardless of what wrestling company it is. So I can take issue and advocate for better for the wrestlers and take issue with the actual office while still supporting the wrestlers, which is all that is. Absolutely. So I'm with you 100%, man. And I'll tell you, I have people in AEW that I absolutely support. And some of those people have been on this show, and it's not a secret because Tony Khan has confronted some of the people who I absolutely support and have asked them about, hey, what's this guy's problem? You're friends with that guy and like questioning this thing. So, it's not as if there isn't a clear distinction here of what's going on. I don't bury the wrestlers. I don't, I may say a wrestler needs to be more of a professional, work on their craft a little better or something like that. But what am I really saying? I'm still supporting the wrestlers when I say that, because a person who has no business being in the ring because they're unsafe, they're not training, they're not doing the right thing, they're going to hurt somebody, including themselves out there.
Absolutely.
So, but, in the case of this Vince McMahon and investigation and all this stuff, Vince McMahon needs to be on TV. Okay? In my opinion, he needs to be on TV. This is not a criminal investigation. So he needs to be on TV. The stock, as you just stated, is down, although for the year it's still up. It's down, over the past month, but it's still up for the year, and we want to make sure we stop that bleeding. One of the ways to do that is to continue to put out a product that people are enthusiastic and interested in. And unfortunately, controversy sells. So because there's controversy, people are tuning in at greater numbers than before. Like they want to see what's going to happen next. Yep. And they don't know, and especially with Vince himself, because this has got to be leading up to something. Just coming out and saying something, John Cena is going to be showing up next week. Well, we already knew that, Vince. You know what I mean? So clearly there's something that they're working toward. Yeah. At least in my opinion. So
you make a good point. I don't disagree with any of that. My man.
I want his ass on TV. He better work. Throw his ass out there and work, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think we can question Vince's work ethic.
Well, I'm not questioning his work ethic, but I'm questioning his decision making behind the scenes that has put all of us in this weird position where I'm getting buried because of something that he did wrong. I didn't go out into the company and pay some lady and play patty cake with her or what have you. So what the hell am I getting a hard time for? So now, Vince, get your ass on TV. I want to see you out there, and I want to see you out there for more than a couple of minutes saying a couple of words. I want to see your ass out there in segments. We're going to work with this guy. And I don't give a damn how he feels. I don't care if his hip is bothering him. I don't care if his knee is bothering him. I don't care if his Botox in his face is bothering him. Get your ass on TV and work. Okay? That's what I want to see from Vince McMahon, because you put us all in this bad position, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it taking advantage. All you CEOs, all of you rich muckety mucks out there, you've been living high on the hog too long. You've been sitting there thinking you're untouchable. And now you're putting everything in a situation where it's like a house of cards that could fall. People are sick and tired of the indulgence of the bull crap. They're sick of it. You had no business doing what you did, old man. You knew what you did was wrong. Okay. You knew that it was going to come back to bite you, and you still had the audacity in this day and age, during Me Too and all these other things going on in this protest culture like we haven't seen since the old civil rights movement. In this day and age, this kind of crap is still happening. Are you kidding me? No. Get your old ass on TV and work. I don't give a damn how you feel either. Wheel him out there. Get out there and work. In fact, I want to see him in a match. I want to see somebody slap the guy around out there.
Come on. You saw that stuff at WrestleMania, Duke. That was not pretty.
This is the same fool who had people kissing his ass on TV like a lunatic. I want his ass in the ring. I want Bobby Lashley to make Vince McMahon bleed, sweat, and pay the price of a lifetime. Put him in the ring and just crush him. I don't care.
You know there's some of those people that really would love to do that too.
Brother, I want it. I want to see it happen. Let Sasha Banks kick him in the balls. Okay? I want to see it all, man. This guy, he wants to be a carny. He wants to play patty cake. Well, then put him in the ring and let's get our money's worth out of him. I want Barnum and Bailey's circus out of this guy. I want to put him in silly outfits. I want to slap him with cream puffs and dump shit on him. The whole 9 yards. I want every negative thing that's ever happened to a wrestler in that company on TV. Put Vince McMahon through that for the rest of the year. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good. I actually like it, and you know what I really like about it is, I think Vince would actually do it.
I think he would too, which is why
I think he would do it.
Yeah, because here's the thing, Danny G. I'm a consistent guy. When Ali was out there acting like a big shot and talking about demanding to get out of his contract and all that, you signed the contract, pal. What did I say? I said put him on TV, and I want him to put the whole roster over. I want everybody to beat that guy on TV. Okay, that's what I said about that, because that's the way it should be. So with Vince McMahon, I want the same thing. I want everybody to beat the hell out of the guy every week on TV, find new and creative ways, put him in what was that, Raw Underground? Put him in Raw Underground and let some of these kids toss him around a little bit. The guy needs to learn his lesson. Okay?
That's what I can't bring Raw Underground back, dude.
Bring it back for him. And the only guy that's consistently going to fight in there is Vince McMahon. Okay? Everybody else want the giant almost to pick him up by his head and just crush him. Okay? That's it. Why not?
Yeah. You know what? You know what, Duke? That's that would make too much sense. You know what I mean? So, who knows if they would do it. But, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't think Vince would be opposed to that. I think he would because, I mean, he's been ridiculed on TV plenty of times before. And you're right. 1 week almost drops him from his head. Next week, Lashley spears him and taps him out with the full Nelson.
It would be great.
Week after that, the Miz gives him the finishing move.
Yeah.
It's lots of good stuff. I'm with you.
Instead of the Kiss My Ass Club, we can turn it into the Vince McMahon Kick My Ass Club. Every week somebody's kicking his ass. Okay? That's what I want to see.
All right, BKM. All right, Vince, if you're listening, boom.
That's it.
You're booked. You're booked to the next 6 months.
To the next 6 months. I just booked it. I just took care of the company, and the ratings would be through the roof. You'll get all the news, attention, and everything. I mean, come on, it writes itself. And the best part,
seriously, like who wouldn't love to see somebody kick Bill Gates' ass?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Or Elon Musk's ass.
Exactly.
Mark Zuckerberg. Who wouldn't want to see them get their ass kicked on TV? We all would.
We all would. And put them in a hardcore match and see what happens. Put them in a Hell in a Cell. You know what I mean? I mean, come on, man. This is like. And look, all you humanoids out there that's been giving me a hard time about this, that's how I feel, okay? Are you happy? That's how I feel. I want to make money off of this guy.
Let The Undertaker throw him off top of a cage.
Absolutely. Bring The Undertaker back just to do that. I want to make money off of Vince McMahon. I don't want this guy off TV. I want him on TV getting his ass kicked.
Nice.
That's
I like
it.
I
want to make money off of the bastard. I don't want nothing else, okay? The guy is over here putting people in a position that he has no business putting people in position on, not only on TV, but off TV. You want to know how I feel about this investigation and all the years of crap? Put Vince McMahon on TV and kick his ass, period. There it is. Now, Danny, you're going to get canceled for being a part of everything I just said.
So what? So what? So if I really gave a crap or I gave a shit about what people think of me, it'd be I have enough stress to worry about in my life. I don't need to worry about what people I don't really know think about me. I've been of the belief for years that you have a small circle of friends, you have a small circle of people in your life, and those are the people that you really want to have a good opinion of yourself. People that you don't know, who cares?
Who cares?
Honestly, who cares?
Who cares?
Because in 2 minutes they're not going to be part of your life, and it doesn't matter.
Well, listen, and to switch speeds here, since we're on a roll, we might as well talk about the other big story in wrestling, at least in the IWC this time. Brad Shepard.
I love Brad. This may get me canceled, but I mean, honestly, people can say what they want about Brad. He everything he says comes to fruition. It's right. It's true. It's true. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And yeah, and I mean, I actually followed Brad before even you and I met on Twitter and everything. I always liked his work, and stuff, and then I remember he was on your show not that long ago. When I listened, it was one of my favorite episodes ever. And I don't know Brad personally. I mean, we talk on Twitter once in a while and stuff like that. But I think that when he says something, it's legit, it's real. And, to the point where I don't even believe half of what comes out of those other jackasses' sites until I get confirmation from Brad.
Yeah. Yeah, Brad is the most... Let me tell you how accurate Brad is. There are people high up in WWE who have admitted they don't know how he does it, but Brad Shepard is the most accurate out there when it comes to reporting on things going on in WWE. And that's why a lot of these folks can't stand the guy. Because here's the thing. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody will say things that we disagree with. How many people are you going to find that fundamentally agree with everything that you agree with?
Nobody.
You know what I mean? You might find somebody that, the guy, he believes that you're supposed to feed the birds today, but the guy puts mayonnaise on his sandwich. Fundamentally, I can't stand mayonnaise. How the hell could he put mayonnaise on his sandwich? It's like, this is real life. We're not always going to agree on everything. And I don't need to agree with everybody on everything. In fact, I prefer people that we see things differently because it challenges me and it challenges the other party to find common ground with each other. And a lot of these lunatics out there, they act as if they have to live in their own little small bubble where they have to agree on everything with people, or at least pretend to, and they literally cannot function if that's not the case. So then they start going on the attack. Brad defends himself, then Brad starts needling them, then they have more meltdowns, but they can't get over unless they're talking about Brad. It's a very strange song and dance that these folks do. I just stay out of it because, if you piss me off and I really start going in, people are really going to get their feelings hurt. So I try to be a reasonable guy here. I don't want to go into Twitter wars with some of these lunatics because I feel bad for a lot of them. They're disturbed people who have no control over their own lives, which is why they keep trying to control the lives of others. Very disturbed people. How the hell do you cover wrestlers and you're cussing wrestlers out left and right? How does that work? I would love to know how that works.
I know.
They don't need us, but we need them. You're cussing out the people that you're supposed to be covering. How does that work? You know what I mean? Just lunatics, just complete lunatics.
Yep.
So one of the things about Brad, Danny G, people were talking about this guy, and I didn't know who the hell he was. And I'm like, all right, why do people keep talking trash about this guy? What's really going on? He's the worst guy ever, whatever. So I hit him up. I said, hey, people, and this is like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. I said, listen, people keep talking about you. I don't know you. I don't have an opinion of you, but I'm inviting you to come on my show, and I'm going to ask you some questions about what the hell is really going on here. And he said, listen, you're one of the first people to ever approach me this way. Yes, I will come on your show, and you can ask me anything. And sure enough, this is like 4 years ago, Danny. He answered every single question I had. He stood firm, and we disagreed on some things. We agreed on some things. But one of the things that I appreciated about Brad is that he wasn't afraid to stand firm and just be like, look, this is where I'm coming from. People either love it or hate it. I don't really care. This is where I'm coming from.
Yep.
So I said, okay, at least I know where I stand with a person like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's it. So me and this guy get along for that reason alone, because there's never any question. There's a lot of these knuckleheads out there. They're snakes. They smile and they say nice things to you, then they're burying you to somebody else. They're snakes,
Yep.
right? I never have to worry about that with people like Brad, people like yourself, people like Lavelle Porter. There's a whole bunch of people out there who, when you see me interact with them and you see me put them over and stuff like that, there's a reason for that. Because I know that if they got a problem, they come directly to me and we have a conversation about it.
Yep.
Never
Absolutely.
have to worry about them burying me and acting stupid. You know what I mean? Which
100%.
some of these other folks, they have no honor, they have no respect. They don't even respect. They tweet about how much they hate themselves, Danny. How are we supposed to expect them to love anybody
Yep.
else? They hate
know.
themselves.
I know. I mean, I've seen, some of the stuff that's recently happened with Brad recently, and stuff. And I mean, my opinion is this. And again, I don't know Brad on a personal level. I don't. I do think that he's somebody that I would get along very well with personally and go out and have a couple beers with and have a good time. We would probably argue about some stuff. We would probably agree on some stuff. But that's the beauty of having a friend, you know? But my opinion with Brad is obviously he's a pretty controversial guy. But you know what? If you're going to get involved with him, you kind of know that going in. He doesn't hide from it. He doesn't hide who he is. He's not fake. He is what he is. And I admire people like that. You know, you don't have to like him. You don't have to, if you don't like him, then don't follow him on Twitter. Don't listen to anything he says. Don't worry about it. There are people online that I don't like. I don't like Philip Lindsay from whatever his Bleacher Report or whatever he's on. I can't stand the guy. I think he's an AEW shill. So you know what? I don't follow him. And if his stuff comes along on my timeline because somebody shared it, I just don't listen to it. I don't care, And if people, if your mission in life is to just go on Twitter and badmouth somebody because they don't agree with you and they don't like you, then you've got a very freaking sad life. You really do, because I don't know. I don't even know, but I have a pretty good life. Everybody I think a lot of other people have good lives too. But if you just want to go and be a keyboard warrior and come at me and say this and say that, I love it, because I get people that come at me at Twitter with stuff. Oh, you this and that. And then I bark back. And then what happens? You don't hear a word, because you know what? I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of somebody who lives in a basement, And like I know Brad from what I understand, Brad's a pretty big dude. You know what I mean? Well, you know what? I'm a pretty big dude too. 6'3", 240. So you want to come at me, buddy, even though you probably don't even know where I'm from. So, getting back to Brad, I truly enjoy his site. I enjoy listening to him. I love his podcast. I think he's funny. I don't agree with everything he does or everything he says. I don't. It's not all of it's my cup of tea. But you know what? Overall, he's a very good news source, and I enjoy it. And if you're not going to like me because I like somebody that you don't, you can go fuck yourself. That's the way I look at it,
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And listen, again, do I agree with everything Brad says or what have you? No, of course not. But the difference between me and a lot of other people who I see who have meltdowns over that, I will speak to Brad and say, hey, man, I disagree with that. And he'll say, okay, well, what's your take? And I give my take and he gives his take. And it's like, okay, good for us. And that's the end of it. You know what I mean? Do I need to have a whole meltdown over the fact that he doesn't like this and I like that? Who gives a damn? Let me tell you something. People are going crazy over the fact that Brad released that woman's name who is believed to have had the affair with Vince McMahon. At least that's what the report stated, right? That the original article and all that good stuff. They identified her in terms of job title and how she went from one tax bracket to another seemingly overnight. It wasn't hard to figure out the woman's name, but Brad was one of the first to put her name out there. Okay, me personally, would I have done that? No. Not because I have some moral compass and I think I'm trying to protect this. No, it's none of that crap. None of that crap. It ain't about that because I don't think there's no moral compass with that. There was no secret that who this person was. Jesus Christ, she had her picture, her job title, and everything online. You think that's a secret? That's not a secret. So no, it's not because of that. I'm going to tell you why I wouldn't have done it. Because I don't think she's newsworthy enough to do it. My focus is on the fact that you got these executives taking advantage of the employees. I don't care who the employee is per se.
Yeah,
that's what the company's investigating that. They can deal with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For me as media, I'm focused on Vince. What's that?
I look at it a couple different ways. One, first and foremost, it takes two to tango. Okay? And if it was a consensual situation, why does one person get revealed but not the other? Because what you just said, one is newsworthy and one is not. Okay? But then again, at the same time, why does somebody's name get dragged through the mud but the other one doesn't? In a situation like that, you both deserve to get dragged through the mud.
But Danny G, here's the issue though, Danny G. The power dynamic makes it a challenge. This is the CEO and chairman of the board here. Mm-hmm. It's not as if, like, what choices could she have made in that situation? If she would have said no and rebuffed his advances, then she could have been fired. And in the way the economy was going and where it is today, I mean, come on, who the hell could afford to lose their job in that situation? Especially considering the amount of money that she was making, life-changing money for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So I understand that the power dynamic puts it in a situation in which she was at a disadvantage, and I think she was being taken advantage of. That's my take on that, because of the power advantage. Now, if they were two people on equal level and they started fooling around with each other, then, I mean, the other party couldn't have possibly paid her more money and all this other stuff. So then it's not even anything to talk about. It's just two people who work together who are screwing around. But because of the power dynamic, it puts her at such a disadvantage that I just don't think she's important enough that I need to identify her and talk about her to that degree. I'm more focused on the bastard who took advantage of her. You know what I mean? And that's just me. But that's not my moral compass per se. It's just common sense business to me. But Brad reported on who she was, and I don't care.
I don't either.
Okay, you know. So some of these fools, and listen, I'm gonna say the guy who had the network, quote unquote, that Brad's show was on, he's out here going absolutely bonkers on everywhere, talking crazy about Brad and saying that, you know, because of that incident, that's why he took Brad's show off of his quote unquote network. Whatever the hell that means. The guy thinks he's CNN or Apple Music or Spotify or something. He has a network. What the hell does that mean? If Danny G, if I get you and your wife and your kids to start shows and I put it out there under my feed, whoever my host is, you know what I mean? Then I could say I have a network too. Well, whoop-de-doo. I'm the king of the world, too. I mean, what the hell? Come on, buddy. You know what I mean? Take it easy. You don't have a network. I'm sorry. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You don't have a network. You are not NBC. Stop it. Stop it right now. Okay?
You're fucking killing me, man.
I mean, what are we talking about? Like, some of these folks are delusional. Some of these folks are really, like, they've created this online life. They have no concept of the real world, maybe because they've had challenges in the real world that are so serious that they have to create this online life where it's like they're trying to recreate themselves. You don't have a network, buddy. You were like, give me a break. You know what I mean? Because you uploaded a podcast, stop it.
I know.
You know, and who are your sponsors?
And I'm getting back to, like, one of the reasons I really, really, really like Brad was this stuff with him. It's not his life.
No.
It's not his life. You know what I mean? He does it because he enjoys it.
That's it.
He does it because he likes professional wrestling. And and he's fortunate enough to have a platform where he can report on it and do stuff like that. You know? I mean, just like yourself, Duke. You've got a life outside of your podcast. You've got a very successful life outside of your podcast. You know, one of the reasons I started listening to your show when I started following you on Twitter was because I knew that. I'm like, here's a guy who just loves, wrestling. He made a podcast. When you probably started Duke Loves Wrestling 6 years ago, you didn't think it would become what it is.
No,
You just,
of course not.
you were doing it because it's something you wanted to do and you enjoyed it, and you're freaking good at it. So that's the beauty of it. And but you know what though, you don't do an 8 to. This isn't your 9 to 5. You do this because you enjoy it, and it's something good for you. And Brad is the same way. I mean, and then look, I hope to God that maybe someday you can turn this into a full-time gig, because that would be fantastic for you. But now that you guys are in the realm of the guys like Meltzer and Sapp and all those other guys, but like Dirt Sheets is their life, and they're out there chasing like stories about. Let's face the facts. It's a staged. It's a stage show. It's a male soap opera that we all love. And they're out here trying to chase facts and get stuff and whatnot. And I mean, seriously, cut it out. These wrestlers are playing you just like they're playing their character on TV. And that's why guys like you and Brad are fantastic, because it's not your life. You do this because you enjoy it. You want to get to know people. You want to talk to wrestling fans. You want to have fun. That's why, guys like you guys are great.
I appreciate that, Danny. And really I do, because you're a guy who, just like you said about Brad and myself, you're a guy that has a real life, off the internet with the real family and real responsibilities, a real job, and you're a real person. This online stuff and what have you, you're just having a good time. It's a source of entertainment.
Exactly.
It's some of these folks, they take this thing so seriously, and that's why they put themselves in a position where they every couple of weeks they're having meltdowns, talking about how they need to take a break, and they're having frustrations and mental health and all. It's like, get the hell out. Listen, you putting that stuff online, talking about how unstable you are for one reason or another. How the hell is anyone supposed to take you seriously after that when you start picking on other people or talking crazy about other people?
Yeah.
You don't even like yourself.
Exactly.
That's what I say to all of them. You don't even like yourself.
How many times on your Facebook feed have you hidden somebody who is constant drama?
Drama.
You don't want to deal with it. You don't want to see it. I know Twitter's different, and Twitter's,
Twitter's worse.
Twitter, it is worse, and what makes it worse is because Twitter's a cesspool, and everyone knows it's a cesspool. So if you're going to go on Twitter,
because they feed off of each other, these folks, these miserable people, they feed off.
If you're going to go on Twitter and bare your soul, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have an answer for you.
Be a professional. That's what I say to all of them. I'm not. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm a big proponent of therapy. Okay. I've been in therapy for many years. Okay, yep. You got to, just like a car, you got to make sure you stay tuned up. You got to get your oil checked. You got to make sure you're running smooth, brother. And your brain is definitely something that you got to keep. And your emotions, you got to make sure that you fine tune them and that you're constantly paying attention to them. Twitter is not the place. Okay, getting on there.
Puts you in therapy.
Yeah, 1 minute it's like, somebody hire me, and I don't know why people don't give me more interviews, and I don't know why I can't do this. And then the next minute, I hate my life and whatever. And then the next minute, I hate Brad Shepard. What the hell?
Yeah, I know. I know.
Stop it, all of you. Okay,
I know.
Stop it.
Yeah, people don't know how to take a step back, dude. They don't know how to take a step back, and I mean. It's funny because you read all these wrestling Twitter things, and you want to, with these fans, and you want to be like, they can't be serious. You know what I mean? This is a joke. And then
they're serious.
Then it keeps happening.
They're serious.
I'm like, oh my God. You know what I mean? I mean, look, I don't care how many followers I have on Twitter. That shit doesn't bother me. Who cares? You know what I mean? It's nuts. I hear you. I hear you, but like I said, we started talking about Brad. We went off on this tangent, but
because it's all connected. And let me tell you something, Danny. I made a decision a long time ago when I started this show, because I try to do the rumors thing where I had regular segments talking about the top stories in wrestling, and unfortunately, most of the top stories were rumors. They were unfounded takes on things that, over time, you find out that most of what was being said is just not true. It was just made up stuff, mostly from Meltzer and people like that. And these websites would just regurgitate that. And you know what? That's not Dave's fault that everyone's regurgitating the things that he makes up. If you ever listen to Dave Meltzer talk, he starts off by saying, when someone asks him a question, he'll say, I don't know. And then he'll go, yeah, he went down the road and he body slammed this one and he flipped off his mother and what have you. So I don't know why he did that. He's been having a tough time in life, and I hear that his wife's cheating on him, and I hear that he's going to lose his contract. I mean, that's what's going on there, but I don't know. So like Dave does this weird thing where he says I don't know, and then he says a bunch of nonsense, and then he says I don't know. So
he covers his base. He talks out of both sides of his mouth, and he covers himself so that if he's not wrong either way.
Not wrong either way, and it's a hustle. You know what? God bless the guy. He's made a living off of talking nonsense like that. But the part that kills me is that people will take what he says and run with it and act like it's real news. I think that's just rotten. I think it's ridiculous. So I made a decision a long time ago. You know what? Not only am I not going to report on the rumors and make that a very rare thing to even discuss quote unquote rumors, but I'm not even going to break news on this show. And Danny, every single day, people across this industry hit me up with news that if I were to put it out, it would be breaking news. Okay? And some of the stuff, if it seems like it's credible enough, I'll pass along to somebody else and I'll say, hey, find another source or two, but here's what I'm hearing about that thing. And then they go off and there's a lot of big news stories that I've hit over the past 6 months alone that I passed along to some of these people who broke it. You know what I mean? But I don't break news. Here's what I do. I will have either one of the sources of the actual news item come on the show and speak from firsthand experience, or whomever is the person who broke the news and it's been proven to be true, I'll have them come on the show and talk about it. And through the history of this show, you've seen that. I can't chase rumors, brother, because the problem is, what happens when you don't have the next rumor? And a lot of this stuff has to take time to develop. So with this Sasha Banks story, I'll give you a great example. And I don't mind saying his name, Raj Giri, who Raj has his moments, but I respect Raj. He's been on the show numerous times. I like Raj. I disagree with Raj half the time, but I like Raj. I don't think Raj is a malicious guy. I just think that, he's playing an interesting role right now that is far different from what he used to be, where he was a lot more careful, and the brand that he represented was a lot more careful about stuff before they put it out. Now they're just putting stuff out. They're just putting it out, Jack. At least that's what I see. But Raj put out that Sasha Banks news, and Sasha Banks is still listed on the WWE website as being on the active roster.
Yep.
Now look, Sasha Banks very well could be done with the WWE. That could be a foregone conclusion. That's great. But she's still on the roster. And she hasn't announced that she's not with the company. The company hasn't announced that she's not with it. You're putting that news out?
Yep.
Talking about sources say? I think that's pretty rotten.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And honestly, like, I loved Raj. I won't get into it on your show, but part of the reason I didn't necessarily go at it with Raj online, but you know what happened. So me basically sticking up for you at one point, and stuff like that. And honestly, when he had Wrestling Inc., I that was my source for news. And since I don't know if he's even still at all affiliated with anymore, but it's gone way downhill in the past 4 weeks. It really has.
It's been longer than that. I think it's been going downhill for the past 3 months.
It hasn't been good. And you're right to put something out like that, especially with someone of Sasha's caliber, because she's a crossover. She's not The Rock. She's not like Stone Cold. She's not John Cena. But
you know what? She's the
close.
closest thing to it. She's closer than everybody
She's the
else.
closest thing to it.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, if it's all right, I wouldn't mind giving my take on the whole situation. As far as like with Sasha goes, my personal opinion, and how much she's my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Of all, she's my favorite female superstar.
And you said that on the show. So,
Yeah.
we have proof that you've said this over time.
Hands down. And I enjoy her in every way, shape, or form, whether it's her ring, her looks, her personality, everything about her I like. So I followed her. I've watched all the specials on her. I watched the WWE 24. I watched the Evil on the Peacock Network. My take on the whole thing is Mercedes Varnado does not want to be Sasha Banks anymore. That's my take. I don't think she doesn't want to wrestle. I don't think it's anything like that. I think she wants to be herself. She's expressed that, how difficult it was when she didn't even hear her own name for a long period of time. She obviously has talked about how she struggled with mental health issues. She's been open about that. I admire that. I think that's wonderful. I think that shows other young women out there that it's okay to say, I needed some help. I admire her in so many ways. I just think that after 10 years of wearing a wig, I think she's done. I think she wants to be Mercedes Varnado, and I think she wants to keep going through life like that. Which leads me to think, which I don't know if this probably wouldn't even happen, but wouldn't it be awesome if they took this whole thing and turned it into, if it is a storyline, and then she comes back on TV and cuts a promo as Mercedes saying, I ain't going to do what the company wants me to do anymore. I am Mercedes. I am not Sasha. This is me. I'm the boss this way. I think that would be legit money for the company. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. If she's negotiating a release from the company, all the power to her. Please, I beg of you, don't go to Jacksonville, only because I just think that will ruin your career. I think it will take away opportunities for her. And it's my opinion. I don't know it's true. I don't know any of that. I just wouldn't want to see that happen to her. And I also honestly think that if she is negotiating a release, I don't think there's any way Vince is letting her go there. I think he would put it in her contract, fine. I'll release you, but you have such and such amount of time on your contract. You are not going there at least for another 24 months or 18 months or whatever the duration of her contract is. All this is only my opinion. But I really, really hope that they can work it out, because I think they can both benefit from each other. I think she provides a good product. I think she's a great performer. I think she's a good representative of the company. And I think that WWE will provide her with the opportunities that will help her. I think there'll be more Hollywood roles and stuff like that. Because, honestly, you don't get cast in something like The Mandalorian, in the Star Wars series, something's that popular, without having some cachet. You don't get to do the opening segment of the national championship game for collegiate football on ESPN unless you've got some swag. So, Sasha, come back, be Mercedes, do whatever you need to do, but just please don't go to AEW. That's all I ask.
Listen, I agree with everything you just said. And again, if she's done and eventually she does wrestle again somewhere else, then, Tony Khan, I would want her to go to AEW just for this reason. They claimed that they were going to pay women equally. That has yet to happen. Then they turned it into, the women have to be equal in experience and drawing power as the men in order to make as much money as them, which is just a crock of crap, because they could build their own stars and build somebody up to be a draw. So, look at what they're doing with Thunder Rosa. Jesus Christ, all they're doing is burying her right now when she could be the biggest star in the whole damn company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, they did it to Hangman Page first.
Yeah, they
so
sure did.
I don't know why.
They sure did.
Why we're shocked that they're doing it with her.
Right.
Right. Have you ever seen a company that buries their champions the way that this company does? I'm sorry, I'm going to swear, you're fucking champions. You're champions. The people you're supposed to put out there, out front, every week, the people that are supposed to sell your tickets, you bury them on your cards.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And, and this is the thing. I call it subtraction by addition. Put the belt on them so then you can devalue them by saying, well, they didn't move the needle. Meanwhile, you're not doing anything to help them move the needle, but you're doing it for other people. Britt Baker gets the world, and Thunder Rosa gets nothing, right?
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, look, I actually like Britt Baker. I really do, But you know what? She's not the champion right now.
She's not the
Thunder
champion.
Rosa is the champion.
Yeah.
I mean, people love one of the things you see on Twitter all the time is, I want the Intercontinental title. I want the U.S. title to mean more, All right, you AEW fan, how about your world title actually mean something?
Imagine that. But, and I bring that up to say this. There's not a person in AEW who is a bigger attraction right now than Sasha Banks. Nobody.
Nope.
You look at Google Trends, you look at, the overall name recognition, you look at the overall stuff. There is nobody in AEW, male or female, bigger than Sasha Banks. So I would love for Tony Khan to try to find a way to justify not paying that woman as much as he's paying his top male star. I would love to see it. There's not even anyone in AEW who's affiliated with the franchise bigger than Star Wars, like Sasha is.
Right? What the sad thing is? He's overpaid so many people.
Well, he's gonna listen. I would love to see him overpay her.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this offline before too. Who's to say that she doesn't know he's willing to?
Good point.
You know what I mean? I mean, we talked about this. I mean, look what happened with Tony Storm and Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, they just walked out.
You don't think that they knew, all right, I got a job waiting for me. You don't think that they knew. I mean, we all know that a lot of this takes place down in Florida. Sure. A lot of these guys live in Florida. They're all friends with each other in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
You see it. They're all dating each other or something. You see it. So, I mean, personally, let me ask you this, Duke. If you were working a job, right, and you knew you had someone willing to pay you 3 times or 4 times what you're going to make, right, and you don't necessarily want to quit where you're working, but you know this in the back of your head, right? The second something comes up that maybe you don't like, what are you going to do? Hey, you know what? F this. I'm out of here. I know I got something lined up.
That's it. I mean, come on. Because
that's what Tony Storm did. That's what Jeff Hardy did. And truthfully, that's what Mustafa Ali tried to do.
Yeah.
But when it got to, with Tony Storm, they probably figured, all right, okay, it is what it is. But then with Jeff Hardy, they caught on. And they're like, yeah, no way. We're not going to, look, these people want out of their contracts, that's fine. But we're just not going to we can't give the impression that you're just allowed to walk out on your contract. And people will come back and say, oh, well, they can release you from the contract at any time. That's in the terms of the contract. That's in the terms. So you sign that knowing that. You know that. So when that all happened and then Ali did it, you know what? So that also is what leads me to believe that they ain't letting Sasha out of this contract.
No, nor should they.
As much as they want to, they can. They may tell her, you don't have to work for us again for the duration of the contract, however long it is, but I think they're going to hold her to that contract. I do, which is why I just,
if the company is in violation of the contract, then yes, then she needs to fight that and get out. If the company's not in violation of their own contract, then guess what? No, I'm not letting you out of the contract. No, why? Why would I let you out of the contract so you can go make somebody else money? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I mean, we people talk about, one of the things that always drives me crazy is people say, oh, WWE fired CM Punk on his wedding day. No, he fucking walked out like a year before. You know what I mean? And he walked out because, after 10 times of getting his own way, he wasn't going to get his own way. So he walked out. I mean, that whole thing that they turned into a storyline with him, the pipe bomb promo and all this other stuff, he got himself a nice fat 3-year contract out of that. He got a tour bus out of that. He got to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. He got to be champion for 400 and something days, blah, blah, blah. He got all sorts of good stuff out of that. He didn't want to do a promo. He didn't want to do a program with Triple H. So he walked out of his contract. And I still liked the guy. You know what I mean? So it bothers me. And one of the things that does bother me about the Sasha situation is they say, like, people are like, oh my God, they never used her correctly. Come on. You can't say that with a straight face. She's main evented a WrestleMania. She's been a 5-time champion. She's she was the first woman in Hell in a Cell. She did so many, she's crossed so many barriers with the company.
She's had a Hall of Fame career.
She absolutely, if she retired today and never wrestled again, she's in the WWE Hall of Fame next year. Like, if she came out and said, look, I just don't want to wrestle anymore. I'm done. I'm moving on to Hollywood, or I'm going to raise a family, or I'm going to do something like that. She's in the Hall of Fame next year. It's easily, in my opinion, one of the top 5 WWE superstars of all time.
Absolutely.
She's had a great career, and they've used her well. They just haven't agreed on everything. So I admire her for sticking up for herself. I do. I just wish she would have done it in a different manner. And part of the reason I feel that way is because someone like her, there are young children that love her, that look up to her. Like that night that they walked out. Okay, that's all well and good, and that's fine. But there were kids there that night that were particularly there to see her and Naomi. There was a little girl there dressed up in all the glow like Naomi, and there were girls there that had the Boss sunglasses on and had the Sasha t-shirts on, and those kids got disappointed that night. And I'm sure that they're aware of that and they know that. But that's the only thing that bothered me about that night. Like, if they were really that upset, work that night, get it all said and done, and then say, you know what, we're done after tonight, and then work it out behind the scenes after that. So at least that way they won't be advertised for shows and stuff like that. That's the only thing that really bothered me about that night.
Listen, I'm with you 100%, and I think that that's perspective that most people are missing here. I hope people have it all wrong. I hope that there is a much more simple explanation for everything, in that she wrestles more in WWE. Okay? That's what I hope. Maybe that'll never happen. Maybe we've seen the last of Sasha Banks. And here's the thing that people got to remember. WWE owns the name and likeness. She doesn't own that. They do. She can't go somewhere else and play that character.
Nope.
So,
but she could be Mercedes, though, and I think that would be great.
Mercedes ain't Sasha.
You're right. No, you're right.
So you start stripping away the things that make that character who they are, that make that wrestler who they are. What are you left with? A watered down version, right? And that watered down version, what's it like? First of all, there's not even the caliber of talent to work with in AEW. So,
you mean some of the game changers wouldn't be?
Yeah, some of the game changers, yeah. So when you see people leave and go over there, and then you see the kind of quality talent that they get to work with, then you start to understand, ooh, this is rough.
Yeah.
Look at Ruby Riott. I mean, Jesus Christ, we thought, well, Ruby Soho now. In WWE, she was a hell of a hand. In AEW, she looks like just a terrible jobber.
Yep. That's it. You know what? It's funny is I've come to realize. I mean, we've all thought WWE's made mistakes when it comes to releases and stuff like that.
Sure.
We all have. But sure. I've come to the realization that I just don't think they sit there with a dartboard and throw the dart and say, okay, they're gone. I think there's some thought put into all of this. I think
that they just look at the numbers, brother. They look at their measurables, whatever metrics they use. How much merchandise are you selling? Who's watching you on YouTube? What are your segments on TV looking like?
Yep.
How many of your peers are putting you over or complaining about you? How many people have gotten injured because they were in the ring with you? Yep. These are things. What are the drivers and the concessions people and the people who put up the ring? What are people generally saying about you? Are you good for the locker room? And I'm not accusing anyone of anything, but here's what I know: for that company to release the people that they've released, especially over the past 2 years, there's got to be something to it, because they've made more money without them than they ever made with them.
Yep.
Figure it out.
I think they put some thought into it, and honestly, Another thing that's been going around about Twitter lately, obviously, with unfortunately, Rhea Ripley not being able to wrestle Bianca Belair. People are like, oh, well, Carmella. Well, you know what though, Duke? There's something to be said about being a good employee. People are like, oh my God, why have they kept Dana Brooke around for so long? Because you know what? She does what they ask her, they ask her to do, and she probably doesn't complain about it. Carmella can be relied on. She's there. Is she the biggest draw? No, but she does her job. She does what she's asked to do. She represents the company well. So you know what? An opportunity came up. They probably said, you know what? We're gonna put her in there. Now we both know she ain't beating Bianca Belair. We know that for a fact. But you know what? There's something to be said about being a good employee. There really is.
Kofi Kingston. Look how long Kofi Kingston has been there.
100%. Like with Finn Balor now, people are like, "Oh, listen, Finn's in his 40s now." You know what I mean? He's Shinsuke the same thing. These guys just want to make as much money as they possibly can right now so that they can live a good life after they're done. That's all they want to do. And look, let me tell you something right now. I'll take $500,000 a year to lose on TV every week.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
Like people talk about like Seth Rollins. I mean, look, and one of the things people don't realize about this business, and I think you and I do, it's not about wins and losses.
No.
Okay? Nobody took more L's than The Rock.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I remember him losing to the big boss man on Monday Night Raw.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And Seth Rollins loses all the time. But you know what? His character is awesome. And he can play whatever role they want him to play, and he does it well. And people want to see him get his ass kicked every week. And he's making the company money, and he's making himself $3 million a year doing it.
Yep. Who can argue with that?
Yep.
That's life ain't so bad. He has a new baby.
Yep.
You know what I mean? His wife, she's bringing in another income there.
She's probably making more than he is.
Yeah. So it's like life ain't so bad in that household.
No, it's not.
That.
And you think a guy like Seth would have a beef. Like, oh my God, people like me. Why can't I be champion? But he sees the bigger picture.
Yep.
He's going to the WWE Hall of Fame someday.
Of course he is.
You know what I mean? And I mean it's the people that see it that way that I really, really like.
Because they understand, and Booker T said it on this show a couple weeks ago. I've always treated this thing like a business. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why I've been able to endure. That's the reason why, things have always worked out, because I understand it's business, and that's all it is.
Yep.
Everybody who talks about for the love of the game and all that nonsense, you're fooling yourself. And all you fans out there who think that people are supposed to do things just for you and entertain you and because you like this, and well, what about this? And no. It's a business first. It's about
100%.
making money first. And if it don't make money, then it don't make sense.
100%. Let me bring up Cody real quick. So I've always been a fan of Cody Rhodes. I've always liked him. Even when he went, and then when he left WWE, it is what it is. And I followed him all during the independents, when he went to Ring of Honor, when he went to Japan. I really, really liked what he did with himself. And when he was one of the people starting AEW, of course, I was thrilled about it. I was like, oh, it's going to be something different. I've always liked Cody. I followed Cody at AEW. I liked his work in AEW. But you're right. It's a business. Since he's left AEW, there isn't anybody in the business that I feel has become more respected and admired than him, because I feel like so much happened to him in the past 3 years when he was with that company. I mean, he became a father, he was an executive. He now sees the bigger picture of everything. And he came back. He was actually able to convince Vince McMahon to not change anything about him, to let him be the character that he developed. And the pop he got at WrestleMania was fantastic. And I have a lot of respect for Cody, but I think a lot of people now have gained respect for him because he sees the bigger picture. He sees it's the business, and he has to do what's good for business. And he's in a good position right now where he's gonna win. I mean, he's out right now, But he's going to come back. He's going to win the Royal Rumble. He's going to be champion. And I'm happy for the guy. And he's developed this appreciation that I love. You know, he's signing autographs. He's hanging around after the shows, and he's taking pictures with fans. And, you know, to get back to Seth Rollins, one of the things I love seeing on Twitter is random people post pictures of their kids with Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. They're on their own time at a coffee shop getting a coffee, and they'll sit there and they'll take a picture with a random person for their daughter or their son. I think that's awesome because you know why? They get it. They get what the business is about. They get it's about the fans. They get it's about, you know, being a good performer, not winning and not losing. And that's why I love Cody Rhodes. And I know I just went off on a tangent, so.
Well, you know, Cody Rhodes, he's going to hear that, and he's going to say, see that? Somebody finally put me over on Duke Loves Rasslin because the Duke sure as hell ain't doing it.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Cody, listen, you can find me at Wicked Smart on Twitter. You can reach out. I'm a huge fan. Recover quickly. I want you back. You were awesome at Hell in a Cell. I've liked your career. Just don't get suplexed into any flaming tables anytime soon, okay? You got a kid, buddy. You don't need to do stuff like that. Tell
him. And listen, I'll tell you a funny Cody story. The West Middle School out there in Atlanta, they reached out and shout out to Coach Davis, good guy. You know, they reached out about tickets to AEW Dynamite. And
I think I heard about this.
Yeah, and I sent Cody a message, and I said, you know, I'd appreciate it if you took care of these kids, man. You know, these kids, they wouldn't be able to afford to go to this event without you guys, you know, granting them some admission. And Cody took care of it. No questions asked, took care of it, not a problem. And I put that son of a gun over for doing that because he didn't have to do that. And, you know, and Cody and I have an interesting interaction with each other. I will call him out for things that I think don't make sense. And to his credit, he understands that that's my role. That's what I'm supposed to do. He doesn't always like what I have to say. And sometimes he'll respond and say that, but for the most part, he'll respond and say, keep it coming, Duke. Meaning that, look, I get it, brother. You're keeping me honest here, you know?
Nope.
But when the guy had to step up and do right by these kids, he did it, no questions asked. And for that, he'll always have my respect above all.
Good.
So,
yep.
You know.
No, I love hearing stories like that, Duke. I really do. You know, like, you know, I mean, I shared this, but like, you know, John Cena, I don't care if you love him or you hate him. The dude has no kids of his own, but when I tell you, if you don't see how he makes every effort to be good to his fans, you're crazy. That thing that he did for that family from the Ukraine was so unbelievably awesome that, you know, whatever. I don't care if you love him or if you hate him. The guy's, I don't know him on a personal level, but he sure gives the portrayal that he is a good freaking guy. You know, and I mean, I will say the only somewhat personal thing I know is I had shared one of his Make-A-Wish Foundation things on Facebook once, and an old high school friend of mine messaged me, and she said, hey, just so you know, I'm a big Tampa Bay Devil Rays fan, and I was at a game with my son, and John Cena has season tickets. So he was at the game, and my son's a huge Cena fan. She actually said he had his Cena t-shirt on. So Cena noticed it, and Cena like talked to the kid all night, and then, you know, Cena took the kid up and got him an ice cream cone and stuff like that. And, you know, yeah, maybe it's part of being famous, but it's also, you don't have to do stuff like that. You really don't. He doesn't have to take an off day and go greet that family from the Ukraine. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to do stuff like that. And I feel like he truly does. And when you give back like that, to me, you just get it. You get life.
He's a class act. And shout out to John Cena. You know, he's somebody that he has followed me online, and I know he listens to Duke Loves Rasslin. We're going to be getting him on the show soon. So that'll be exciting, and I'll definitely have to play that clip if he doesn't hear it yet. I'll definitely have to play what you just said there, Danny G, because that's a good call out there.
Please do. I mean, you know, it's funny because I actually worked with somebody years ago that was from West Newbury, where he's from, And she said the same exact thing. She goes, no, he's just a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good
She
guy.
said he's just a good guy. He's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
And it's good to see. I like being able to point to people and show my kids, you may not ever be him, but you can be like that. You can give back, whether it's coaching Little League, whether it's, being a big brother or a big sister or in some way, shape, or form, you can give back too. And I've done it in my time. I miss it. I miss the volunteer work. But you can be that. And like guys like John Cena, I think are people that you can legitimately look up to.
Good call. Good call, Danny G. Listen, you've already plugged your social media, so you got ahead of the game there, brother.
Yeah, I'm at Wicked Smart on Twitter. Daniel F. and Garvin on Instagram. You can find me. Look, I like to talk. I like to have fun. I like to have a good time. I mean, professional wrestling ultimately is fun, guys. It's fun. And that's what it's supposed to be. It was some of my best memories growing up as a kid was my dad taking me to wrestling matches. I was able to do that with my kids, and that's all. Just have fun with it, guys. It's not supposed to be a war. We've talked about why it's a war several times, Duke, on our own time and stuff like that because of the idiot down in Jacksonville. But just have fun with it, guys. We don't have to hate each other online. And if you hate me, so what? Just block me. I don't care. I'm surprised you haven't brought up food, Duke. I'm a fat guy. I love to talk about food.
Well, take us out with that. What's for dinner tonight, Danny G?
Actually, I had pizza for dinner before I came in because I knew if I was going to have a beer or two while talking to you, that if I didn't put something in my stomach, it was it could have got real ugly there. It could have got ugly, but we're both foodies. We know how it is. We send each other pictures and stuff of stuff that we like to make and all that. But looking forward to getting together in person sometime soon, having a couple of pops.
Damn right. Danny G, you are a national treasure, my brother. We're going to have a couple of pops and then a couple more. Appreciate you, man.
My pleasure, Duke. Hey, anytime. I love coming on. I mean, like people said, we talk every day, so this was just people get to hear what we talk about.
As always, my brothers, my sisters, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others. Take it away, Tony Schiavone.
This is Tony Schiavone, and we're desperately out of time on Duke Loves Rasslin.